Well, John, it's a big welcome to the South, but let's talk about your history. The accent gives away your origins.
Yes, I'm originally from Glasgow, Scotland, but I've been spent the past 9 years out in the States, but I've managed to retain the accent.
Right, let's talk about those early days in Scotland and your soccer connections there, or football connections.
Yeah, I was very fortunate as a young player. I was able to play for the Glasgow Rangers Football Academy and Heart of Midlothian Academy, which are professional clubs back in Scotland. I was training with them from 10 years old all the way till 14, and I was fortunate enough to sign a schoolboy for them with Heart of Midlothian, and that meant I was training on a full-time basis even as a schoolboy. Also, as a schoolboy, I was managed to play for my country. I played for Scotland 7 or 8 times, which was a fantastic experience. Got me travelling around the country, around Europe, and went to China and all places like that to play football. And at 16 I was fortunate enough to sign my first professional contract with a club in the Scottish Premier League called Kilmarnock Football Club. During my time at Kilmarnock, they put me through all my coaching qualifications, which has stood me in good stead because I've suffered a couple of severe knee injuries that curtailed my playing career, but has allowed me to forge a full-time path still in football, obviously having worked everywhere from Iceland to Invercargill and China to Brazil, and it's been fantastic.
So you retired at a fairly young age?
From playing. My last full-time professional game was probably at 23. I'd torn my cruciate ligament playing for Kilmarnock against Celtic in Scotland. I'd come back from that and I'd played several seasons up in Iceland in their Premier League. But I was having problems with the knees ongoing, and then unfortunately I had an injury to the right knee, so I walk in circles now. It's funny, but no, it's been great. The fact that I'd been put through my coaching licences, and Kilmarnock as a club, actually being a young professional player, they recognise, and all the clubs do this now, they recognise that your development might stop through ability, injury, so they put you through your qualifications so that you can have a career once the playing days are done.
The Scottish Premier League is, I know it's not the same money that's set up as the English one, but it's still a pretty prestigious competition.
Yes, it is. It's taken a knock over the past few years with Rangers being relegated. Obviously, between Rangers and Celtic, it brings fantastic competition to the league, and that is a showpiece game. But it's given other clubs such as Aberdeen, Dundee United the chance to thrive, and they've certainly went on and done well, and St Johnstone have also done well. So although it doesn't have Rangers and Celtic having the Old Firm games regularly, it's still a very competitive league. The standard of young players is improving all the time, and hopefully when Rangers get back into the league, it can regenerate some of the financial issues that Scottish football's been facing by drawing bigger TV crowds and more publicity to the game.
Well, Rangers, I think, only one season away if they win. I think they lost their first game.
Yeah, they did. I keep up to date with all the scores of all the clubs back in Scotland, and they lost their first game, and it's going to be a very challenging league. Obviously, you've got Hearts and Hibs that have been relegated, and there's already strong clubs there such as Falkirk and whatnot. So it's going to be a very competitive league, and Rangers have won the past two leagues at a bit of a canter. But it's definitely going to be a bit of an eye-opener this season. They've already played Hibs in the Cup, and it took extra time to get the win there, and obviously Hearts have travelled to Ibrox at the opening day of the league and had a very good result for Hearts there, so that'll kick-start them. Their coach Robbie Neilson I actually used to play with the Scotland set-up and at Hearts, and he's a lovely lad, and I wish him all the best, and what a way to get your managerial career off than getting a win at Ibrox.
Did the crowd stay with Rangers during this lull?
Yeah, again, watching it from a distance and having friends still involved in the game, the support has been nothing short of phenomenal. I think if you look at both Glasgow clubs, Celtic and Rangers, the crowd that they have is fantastic. Both clubs are very loyal fans, but I think a lot of credit has to go to the Rangers fans, because you see in leagues all around the world that they can't attract the fans on that level as what Rangers have at the bottom basement. The fans have been outstanding, and again, reading in the press, there's been a lot of background issues, but they've stuck by the team, and with that type of support, hopefully again we can have a club like that playing at the highest level. It's only good for the country.
Just want to pick you up about the Iceland. We don't know much about
Yeah,
Iceland Premier
yeah.
League. What sort of standard of football is it at the top level?
Their young players are phenomenal. If you look around the European leagues now, you look at the Bundesliga, you look at the Dutch league. There's young Icelandic players travelling all across Europe now. They're very hard-working bunch, not too dissimilar to what I've experienced with New Zealand players, both my time up in Dunedin and now that I've come down here. They know the game inside out. They're big, fit, strong lads. And they have a high calibre of young players coming through. The problem up there is it's a very small population and there's not a lot of money in the football, so their better players travel. You look at throughout the years, you've got Eidur Gudjonsson who'd played for Chelsea and Barcelona, so they crunch out some fantastic players. Herman Hreidarsson, who had a fantastic career in the English Premier League, so the talent's there, but they don't retain much of their talent because the better players go elsewhere. But it's a beautiful country, and it gives guys like myself who are a bit of journeyman the opportunity to still go play. Their season runs through the summer, so predominantly what guys like myself done is we went up there, played during the season, and then returned to Scotland over the winter and kept ourselves ticking over with clubs down there, and it gives players a chance to get in the European shop window. If they prove themselves there, it opens up the gateway to Scandinavia and Northern Europe, so it's a testing ground for young players to go and do well.
And what was the opportunity that came your way from America?
I'd been taking a lot of knocks to my knee, and I was struggling, and I kind of started to realise that playing full time was not going to be forever. So I had the opportunity through a coach to go over to the States and do the coaching full time, do a little bit of study at one of the universities and help one of the universities with their programme. And it was for a year I was going to go over initially and come back after my knee had recovered, and I'd met what turns out that is now my wife. So the old saying is you never know how you're going to meet the one you end up with, but I went for a short term. My wife was a volleyball player at one of the local universities in the area I was working, and one thing led to another, and that stay got prolonged for a few years. We got married, and then we actually after that ended up coming down to New Zealand to Dunedin, and it was whirlwind, but nothing planned about it, but it's great, and now we've got two lovely kids, so it was very fortunate.
You're going to end up with interesting accents, aren't they, the kids?
Yeah, my little girl, she's 3, she's already hilarious. She says some Scottish words with an American accent, and now she's started at a little daycare here in Invercargill. I'm starting to pick up a strange little twang to her accent as well, so it's going to be interesting. And my little boy, he's only 9 months, so I'm sure he'll start off with a wee bit of my accent that'll probably fade, something like you guys, I would imagine, but it's going to be interesting.
And how did you come to Dunedin from America? That's a remote connection.
Yes, it was. I was coaching, and there's a club up in Dunedin, I'm sure you're all aware, Caversham. There was an old friend of mine that I'd actually played at Rangers with called Frankie Haggerty. He was playing for Caversham, and himself and Steve Fleming got talking. They were looking for a change of coach, and Frankie had mentioned that he knew I was coaching in the States, so they got in touch with us, and the timing worked very well because my wife, she was graduating that winter, and the opportunity came to come down to Dunedin, and we thought, you know what, before we start planning the wedding and all kinds of stuff like that, let's go down and see what it's all about, because through Frankie I'd heard nothing but great things about the country, so we were very excited to come down, and it was great. Still got a lot of friends up in Dunedin. I coached Caversham for the year. We won the Southern Premier League, and I also worked as football development manager for it was Soccer Southland, now Football South. I worked alongside Johan Kustal, big Dutch fella who was running the office there, and I was his right hand man, so it was great, but ultimately we returned back to the States for a few years, and we were delighted when we got the opportunity to return.